Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us today. I'm PJ Trudeau. This is the HR Roundtable. Today we're very excited to be talking about our strengths and learning more about StrengthsFinder and strengths-based resilience, why that's important, what we can do to make sure that not only as individuals that we're able to do that, but also how we can help our teams do that better. And we've got a wonderful consultant here today that's going to talk with us about it. She, in her own right, was the one that founded Leadology, which is a Leadology is leadership consulting powered by the science of flourishing. Leveraging principles of positive psychology, their methodology teaches strengths-based tactics for mastering effective management and leading results-oriented teams. With Leadology, organizations get on track to jumpstart performance and fast-track success. Carrie Skrzanski, and I apologize, Carrie, if I said that.
Okay.
Courage builder and the founder of Leadology, a consulting firm specializing in leadership development programs for individuals and companies. Drawing on her global background in organizational leadership, training as a Gallup StrengthsFinder coach, she's certification in applied positive psychology and certified by Dr. Breen Brown as a Dare to Lead facilitator. Carrie's coaching has helped transform multi-million-dollar companies, including Honor, Delta, Estee Lauder companies, Kendra Scott, Bumble and Bumble, Shutterstock, and more. Carrie's coaching is the perfect motivational and practical science-backed spark you and your team need to replace outdated patterns of behavior with considerate, transparent, and high-functioning collaboration. Let me now go ahead and turn it over to Carrie. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much, PJ. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to chat with your community here today. Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? We can give a wave or come off mute or use the Zoom functions. Lord knows we've had plenty of practice over the last year and a half with Zoom functions, right? So I'm really happy to talk to all of you today. I think some of the things, as HR, people development peers here, there's, probably a lot here that you've had experience with, like strengths. How many of you, raise a hand, I want to see how many of you have done the strengths assessment before, the Clifton Gallup strengths? Yep, a few of you. Okay, cool. You can drop in chat and tell me what your top 5 are if you feel like it. I see a couple of the hand raising. So we're going to talk about that today and the importance that not only are we doing this with our clients, but we're doing this with ourselves. Like, we are using strengths for our own resilience here. And I think many of you can attest to the fact that the things that have helped us personally as managers and leaders, we're putting out there to the people that we serve every single day. So I want this to be conversational. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat or come off mute and just ask your question. I will go through some information, things that we're talking about right now as it relates to strengths-based resilience, things that we're learning real time about returning to the office, the great resignation that we're all worried about, but also what it's like, how we're using strengths to actually bounce back and support people. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay for just a few slides here. I'm not going to bore you with too many stats. I already see some strengths here in the chat. So Shannon has empathy, harmony, developer, individualization, and relator. Oh my goodness, Shannon, we have 3 of the top 5 in common. And then Samantha has responsibility, input, learner, arranger, and context. So I don't have any of those. So Samantha, we'd be really great complementary partners, I think. So as PJ said, I'm Carrie Skrzanski, but don't worry about that last name. I always say if Madonna and Beyonce can go by only one name, then so can I. So we're all on a first name basis here. All right, so there's 3 things that I want to share with all of you today. And first, it's just the future of work. The workplace, what people are wanting and needing from work is shifting. And we're going to take a look at what some of those key elements are. The next thing we're going to talk about is just some data and things we're learning about the 2 big reasons why people are leaving work. And hint, hint, it's not just about this idea of remote work. And then finally, I'm going to share with you 5 of my favorite coaching questions right now to start motivating and empowering your employees differently starting today. We're going to drop a PDF handout in the chat. We'll even send it to PJ later so she can send it in the email so that you'll have it. And I think, as HR professionals, we're also coaches. We're coaching every single day in almost every conversation that we're having with the people that we serve. So as coaches, I know we're all collecting good coaching questions so that we're having more productive conversations with people. So I want to make sure that you get that and get time to chat with each other in a breakout today as well. All right. So here's what we know from the future of work. And this is from research done by Gallup. And we know that the workplace needs are shifting. This research began when they were trying to study the impact that millennials were having on workplace culture. And it has just evolved since then when, with more women in the workplace and with Gen Z now entering the workplace. So if you look at the left hand of the screen and you look at what was important, what people valued in work in the past, they cared about their paycheck. They cared about just like job satisfaction. They cared about, what their boss thought. They obeyed their boss. It was all about the annual review, the big event of the annual review. And usually at the end of that review, you had a development plan that focused mostly on your weaknesses, not deepening your talents. And they were just happy to have a job. To be honest, I look at that list and I think about my father's values. I think about, the things he taught me. He valued things like, of course he did. He was a boomer and he valued things like stability and follow the rules. And it's just important that you have a job after I've paid for your college education. And then fast forward to the future, no one taught me how to be an entrepreneur. And let me tell you, that was quite a conversation when I told my family that I was going to start my own business after a layoff. And instead, we look at the future of work. And this is what's important to people. They don't just want a paycheck. They want to be connected to a purpose. I'm sure many of you are working with, yes, millennials, but I think Gen X and all generations are being influenced by this. I think you're noticing by what's happening in the workplace today that employees are waiting for their organizations to have a point of view on some of the big cultural things that are happening out there right now. If the company's values become divergent from individual values, you start to see people leaving. So they want to be connected to a bigger purpose. They want to make a contribution to that bigger purpose. The future of work is all about development. And I'm going to give you an interesting statistic about this a little bit later. They want to learn and grow as much as possible and as fast as possible. They want a coach. They don't just want a boss. They want someone who can help them navigate their that roadmap through their career development. And it's not just about that event of the annual review. It's about the ongoing conversations. In fact, how many of you are doing your best to implement regular one-on-ones and teaching managers how to have better weekly one-on-ones, not just the annual review? Yeah, I'm seeing hands go up. Absolutely. Those weekly one-on-ones might be the most important ritual to build trust and keep people connected and engaged in the work. And then finally, we're not focused on strengths. We're not focused on weaknesses. We're focused on strengths. We want to make sure that we are taking your natural ways of thinking, feeling, behaving, the things that are right with you, and deepening them, because we know from research that this is the pathway to excellence. And then finally, and I think this has been one of the biggest, I guess the real spotlight over the last year and a half with the pandemic, is that when we are working with human beings, you get the whole person. And it's really about supporting them in their whole lives. It's not just their job. It's not just this person at work. But do we have, family-friendly policies that make people feel supported and that also help to boost their well-being? So I'm curious if you would just drop in the chat. I would like to know, like, of these things that I've just listed here for the future of work, which one would you say is your priority in the workplace right now? Where are you focusing? Drop in the chat, or you can even come off mute and talk to me about it. But I would love to know what are the things that you're talking about? Okay, Suzanne says ongoing conversations. Nancy says well-being. Stephanie says life and well-being. More ongoing conversations from Melissa. Yeah, lots of ongoing conversations. Yep, from Jerry. Sheila says well-being with resilience and development. Yeah, I love that you connected resilience and development to well-being, Sheila. I think that's really critical, right? I think these things aren't all just working in silos. I think there's a connection amongst all of them. Shannon says continuous feedback and conversations. Amazing. Letitia says my life and well-being. Samantha says purpose. Sheila says well-being. All right. So there's a lot of this that is very current and real for you right now. So here's another question for you. So what are some of the reasons that people are leaving? I know many people are concerned with this big headline of this thing called the Great Resignation. We are really thinking about ways to retain employees, especially our top talent. Tell me, what are some reasons why that you're seeing in your organizations that people are leaving? You can drop that in the chat too. Or maybe it's your best guess. Go ahead and drop in the chat. Okay, work-life balance, other opportunities, job market is getting better and people can move for new opportunities or promotions, career advancement, yeah, connection to a purpose. Okay, good. All of these things. Let's see. Becky says they want to work remote full-time. Yes, they do. It's a thing. That's a real thing. Letitia says more remote opportunities. All right. So all of these things are really important and real reasons. Erica says uncertainty of school schedules. Yep, that's another big reason too, right? Parents have like their first business is the business of their home, right? Especially for women. I always say women are the CEOs of their home, and they're like, yeah, but my husband's the one that has like, you know, the big job and the big paycheck. I'm like, fine, he can be the CFO. You are the CEO, right? All right. So here are two ways that we know from Gallup research, and these are the two main reasons, top reasons that people were leaving jobs. And this started prior to the pandemic, and it was only illuminated more, it was only exacerbated by the pandemic. The first is the perceived lack of opportunities to learn and grow. So a lot of you did mention this idea of like opportunities for promotion and advancement. So I say here a perceived lack of opportunity to learn and grow, because if all of you went right back to your CEOs right after this call and said, hey, do we have opportunity? Do we provide opportunities to learn and grow in our organization? I believe they would all say yes, 100%. Of course, there's opportunities to learn and grow. But if the employees don't personally feel like they have opportunities to learn and grow, if they feel like it's not really explicit, they're not sure how they can learn and grow, if they don't feel like they're being invested in, if they can't see their next step or two of advancement, they're going to start to look elsewhere. And so they want to learn as much as they can. They don't just want to be executing. They want to really clearly see, how does taking on this project actually give me exposure, experience, new skill? And oftentimes that is happening. We're just not, as managers, always really good at explicitly articulating, hey, I'm going to put you on this project because this is how it's going to serve your development. Oftentimes those people are receiving that work as if they're like just being dumped on. So it's this idea of perceived lack of opportunities to learn and grow. And then the second thing is, unfortunately, and we know this, is to get away from their manager and improve their life. We all know this, right? We've seen the statistics. I saw one funny statistic from the opening of a new book about the mindful leader. And they said that 35% of employees would forego a pay raise in exchange for their manager being fired. Eek. I know some of you are laughing, some of your eyebrows just went to the top of your heads. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, we've all been there. I have a good friend, another coach, who says, you know what, we all have a worst boss story, but none of us wants to be a worst boss story. And so imagine though, 35% of employees would forego a pay raise in exchange for your boss to leave you. Imagine if you look at your team of people, if 35% of my team would rather see me fired than take a pay raise, that is a big problem. And so the manager, it plays such an incredible role. If you right now are looking at your engagement numbers in your organization, I would look to the manager. Because we know that from Gallup research, and I keep quoting Gallup because I am the Gallup certified strengths coach, we know that managers account for at least 70% of the variance in employee engagement scores across business units. That's a really big deal. And it's also a lot of pressure on managers. We need to support managers. I just had the pleasure of attending a virtual summit, and Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, was one of the speakers. And he was like, yeah, of course, we've invested, of course it's Microsoft, millions of dollars in executive development. He's like, but we've changed that. We've gone straight to the middle, straight to the managers, because that's where the magic happens. Everything in our organization runs in and out of the manager, right? They're taking direction from the top down. They're sending that direction out to their teams. They're working cross-functionally with their peers and even externally with clients and vendors. So he has shifted and reinvested all of that time and energy and budget into the managers, because the manager level is where all the magic happens. And so if you're looking at your engagement numbers, I would definitely look to how your managers are helping your teams learn and grow and supporting their strengths. So we also learned over the last year through the LinkedIn Learning Workplace Learning Report that 54% of employees said they would actually take advantage of development opportunities if their managers encouraged it. So many times I'm working with clients and we're facilitating different classes, and sometimes we would get low engagement. And when we think about why, when they ask their teams and employees, they would say, well, I feel like I'm not sure I really had permission, or I did sign up, but my boss pulled me out for an important meeting. Or if I took 2 hours to join that class, I feel like I would have to add 2 hours or more at the end of my day to make up that time, because there's just so much work. And so there's a real need for managers to encourage their people to take these classes, but also to, protect their time, and really just demonstrate through their actions, say, what, this is a priority. And I do believe in your investing in your development. So go take that class. And I can't wait to learn what you're learning. Another thing is that in those really important rituals of one-on-ones, employees also want to know what their managers are learning. So too many times managers and leaders are in those offsites and, they're gone for the day, or leaders get together, God forbid, when HR all gets together in a room, everyone's talking, right? They want to know what's really going on. But they want to know. So how can we be transparent to say, here's what I'm learning. Here's the class I took. Here's the book I read. Here's the article I came across. And so that's something that they can talk about in their one-on-ones as well. So here's the other thing we know is that 94% of employees would stay at a company longer if the company was investing in their learning and development. So of course I'm biased. And so I pull up the statistic right away and I want to send it to everybody, because this is something that is going to support people's learning and growth. So it's not just about the title, the promotion, the big pay raises. How do you develop them in place? How do we show that we're investing in them and we care about their growth while they're in position? There's not a promotion for everyone. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that we give to managers who come through our program is that never, ever promise a promotion, ever. And that is so hard for them, because they feel like that is the only thing that is going to make them feel like they're growing, when really there's so many other ways, so many other opportunities that just need to be explicitly stated for our employees. So getting into strengths and, what's going to help people really be their best every single day in the face of uncertainty, in the face of adversity, in the face of this big risk moment that we have going on right now in terms of the talk about people moving jobs. We believe, and we start all of our clients with strengths. It has been our experience that in the face of adversity, this has actually been one of our number one programs over the last year and a half for a couple of reasons. One, it is the spark of positivity that everyone has needed. We've been all problem solving and everyone's been hands-on. Like, how quickly did we all pivot to this work from home situation and quite frankly, made it work. And strengths is that positivity to give people a new language to be able to advocate for themselves, to actually say, you know what, this is the value I bring to the organization. This is the contribution that I can make to the mission and purpose of this organization. And here's what I need from you to be able to bring that value. It gives them a new language to be able to ask for what they need. And oftentimes it's very simple things. But here's what we know is that when individuals, right, it starts locally with one person. When one individual is in the strength zone every day, when they feel like they can use their harmony, responsibility, developer input, all the beautiful things that you have all listed in the chat, they can be 12, these are average numbers, 12% more productive. They are 6 times as likely to report being actively engaged on the job. That's huge. 6 times as likely to be actively engaged in the work. Then over time, when all of those individuals collectively make up a team and the entire team has that level of engagement, they stand to experience these numbers that you hear that you see on the right side of your screen. 65% lower turnover, 22% higher profitability, 21% higher productivity, and 10% higher customer engagement. Are these things that your company cares about? Yeah, I think so, right? So we've tapped into strengths as a source of resilience, because I think when people are feeling down, we have to remember that, okay, I do have a set of tools in me. When we define strengths, we talk about this idea of talent, right? This defining talent. We talk about celebrating what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them. We talk about talent as our natural way of thinking, feeling, and behaving that can be productively applied in any situation. And so the importance of knowing our strengths is knowing, okay, I have this set of tools. This is the challenge in front of me. This is the problem in front of me. This is the mistake or failure I just experienced. How can I lean into one of my strengths or more and aim it towards my goals, right? How do I look at my strengths and my talents and leverage them to create change amongst my most important goals right now? Now, many of you here have taken the strengths assessment, and it's so fun to like offer your top 5 and to speak in the strengths language, because it truly is a common language for performance, but some of you haven't. And so we like to offer these filters as the first 3 clues to strengths and to talent. So I don't want you to feel like, okay, now we've got to make this big investment in Gallup and all this stuff before we can talk about this. Really just thinking about, again, I'll start locally with each individual. Evidence of our strengths begins with, what are the things we do with ease, enjoyment, and excellence? What are the things that we do with ease, enjoyment, and excellence? And, I'll often tell the story of, when it comes to training and development and facilitation, it comes easily to me. I love doing this. I run to my Zoom computer or to a live audience to train these classes. And, I think I do it with excellence. And at least I've been told. And so, but here's the thing, that's because I lead with relationships. I lead with influencing. But you know what? If you came to me and you said, hey, if PJ said, hey, Carrie, can you create an Excel spreadsheet of everyone here who has done strengths? It doesn't happen easily for me because it's definitely not my talent. I don't find Excel to be an intuitive tool. I definitely don't enjoy doing it. And you're not going to get great results, right? So these become filters for what are the things I do with ease, enjoyment, and excellence, right? Some of you might think like, gosh, coaching, I do it with ease, enjoyment, and excellence. I really just want to support the people that we serve. Maybe, health benefits enrollment, you're probably like, oh my God, again, are we here again at this time of year? That might not be your favorite thing to do. I once worked and was coaching a VP of finance. And I want you to know this is not always black and white. I worked with a VP of finance and she said to me, she said, you know what? I just don't enjoy forecasting anymore. And I said, okay, let's talk about that. That's a problem. That's a big part of your job. And so as we talked about it, we learned that, you know what, of course she does it with ease. She's a VP. She's been doing it for a long time. She does it with excellence. She's at the top of her game. She doesn't enjoy it anymore. And so as we looked at her strengths and we coached her through this thing that was really kind of draining her, she had developer in her top 5 strengths, and she loves to teach. And it turned out that, we said, okay, so are there any members of your team who you could teach to do the forecasting? And you can delegate that to them. Of course, you have to stay close to it because the buck stops at you. But yeah, she identified 2 directors on her team who were flattered to get a piece of that VP pie. They learned directly from her. They were making contributions in a new way. The VP was happy because she could get most of that work off of her plate. And so we were able to take that task of forecasting that was really draining her, and get it back to a place of strength just by engaging in that activity a little bit differently. So that's why I say this idea of like the 3 E's are these filters that are a really great starting point. You can start with yourself. Like if you just make a list of all the things that are expected of you every day and really pay attention to the things that you do with ease, enjoyment, and excellence, those are probably going to start to give you clues to your strength. And then the things that don't fit in those buckets, you can decide what adjustments that you can make too. So when we think about this idea of resilience, it's really important right now that we are having critical conversations, and strengths is such a key piece of that because, like I said, you get this incredible report, amazing detail of your talents, descriptions of your talents, and new ways of looking at it. It just really holds a mirror up to us to see ourselves in a new reflection. And, it definitely starts with the individual. And, I think when we think about what a great manager is, I really come back to this foundation of great communicators. And for the managers, they have to be able to get a good sense of how they're feeling about this return to work, return to office, the risk of losing important team members. They need to get grounded in how they're feeling about all of this. And in fact, you and your leadership teams have created those return to office plans. Your managers are going to be expected to execute on those plans when they really haven't been the ones to make those decisions very much. So they need to really get grounded in how they're feeling about those return to work plans. So it starts with the individual. It starts with me thinking, okay, how has COVID-19 changed me? How has it not changed me? What hasn't changed with me? Who have I become while we've been not working in person together? The reason why this is so important, and I'll tell you a story, is that there's been versions of this story that have come to me, but they're at a very large Fortune 500 company. One of the women here in my workspace said, my son, he's 25 years old. He just got this job. He's so excited in a marketing department at this very famous Fortune 500 company. And I'm sure many of us here are customers of this company. And his boss is a woman in her early 30s who has 2 young children at home. Now we know that demographic has taken one of the biggest hits. It's been one of the biggest struggles for young women of young children. And here she is managing this 25-year-old guy who's so excited to be working. They got their return to office plans. And she said to him, she's like, so are you crying every day yet? Thinking about going back to the office? And he's sitting there thinking like, actually, no, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm excited to go to the office. I'm excited to see what it's like. I'm excited to experience the culture. Now, I think, it was inappropriate for her to vent in that direction, right? Permission to be human. She has every right to feel how she feels. And I do believe in transparency, but I think transparency in a certain direction with boundaries is really what she needed. And so, that's why if she got real about how she feels, but also realizing as a leader, she has a responsibility to this young man and his employee experience, perhaps she would have shown up a little bit differently in that conversation. So letting individuals have the time to reflect, how am I feeling about this? What do I need? What do I want? And what is the direction in which I can communicate those things? The next is the team level. Looking at the team. So, again, what's going well with the team? How has the team changed? How hasn't the team changed? How has the team made profound contributions? How have we applauded the collective success of the team over the last, and you pick the time frame, the last month, the last 6 months, the last year and a half? How have we really celebrated as a group? Celebrations and praise matter. They matter more than criticism. And so we want to make sure that we're really looking at, okay, so what is the team doing now? And what is the potential of the team that we haven't yet met? As leaders, we have to be the removers of obstacles. So when we can see like, where are we now? Where do we need to be? And as the leader, how can I remove anything that might be getting in their way there? It's going to accelerate them to that goal. And then finally, the mission and the purpose. So looking at the team and thinking about, what are the company's stable values? I think in this time of uncertainty, creating stability has become even more challenging. And I find that most employees have found stability in their company values. For example, you might want to reassure your team amidst all this change, putting the customer number one is not changing. We still value our customer and getting to yes for the customer. You're empowered to do that still. So really not just talking to your employees about what's changing, but also very explicitly articulate to them what's not changing. And then again, taking a look at how have we made contributions to this collective mission and where do we still have opportunity? I guess I'll pause there and let you ask some questions before I put you in a breakout. These times always go by so fast for me. So are there any questions right now at this stage before I introduce to you some of the 5 coaching questions that we're using with our clients right now to help them have better, more productive conversations to support people with this emotional return to office time that we're in? I'm actually going to stop sharing for a minute so I can see names and faces. Are there any questions or comments, reactions? All right. All right, everyone. So maybe I'll get you in your groups and you'll be more talkative there and we'll get you all juiced and come back and then you'll just talk my ear off. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to, let's see, there is a question in the chat. I want to make sure I don't miss it. Oh, Stephanie says this is great information. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm so glad this is adding value for you. All right. So these 5 questions are our favorite. Now, these questions also connect to those clues to a strength, right? What are the things that you do with ease, enjoyment, and excellence? What are the things that you yearn to do? What are the things that, what are the ways that you learn quickly? What are the things you want to contribute to? And so these, I promise you, when you ask your employees or your peers these questions, pay attention. Pay attention to the pace with which they answer. Pay attention to their body language and what happens to them while they're answering and while they're giving their response. These are really powerful questions. And they're really not like, to me, they're not super groundbreaking. I feel like we should be talking about this stuff all the time, but yet we don't. You know why? Because we have a list of things we have to execute on. Okay, where are we on this? Where are we on that? Are we going to miss the deadline here? Okay, what do we need here? What's the problem here? Okay, great. And that's usually how we spend our touch bases. It would be far more meaningful if we start with these. So let's see. I have actually the PDF for you because I want to put you into breakouts. So here's what we will do. I am going to see if I can grab this. Hold, please. These are the
create the breakouts for you. How long did you want everybody in them?
Let's see. Let's do about we can do 15 minutes.
Okay, great.
15 minutes. And okay. This PDF should be landing in your chat right now. I want to make sure that everyone's got that. Can I get a thumbs up from those of you who see that loading right now? Okay. So you're going to want to download that. It's a little worksheet. It's my gift to you. You can use it, reuse it, send it to all your managers, send it to your direct reports and tell them you want to talk about it in your next touch base because you were on this really cool webinar and you want to chat about it, All right, so hopefully you all have it. If not, you can always just pick up your camera and take a picture of the screen right now to get the questions too, whatever works. And then as soon as we're ready, PJ, we can drop them in a 15-minute breakout. When we come back, we will, I'll be here to answer your questions. I definitely want to hear from you. So enjoy your conversation. Welcome back, everybody. Here they are. Hello, hello.
Okay, everybody should.
Maybe a few people dropped off. Oh, here comes more. All right, so how did this go? What was your reaction to the questions? Did you get to interview anybody and ask them the questions? Tell me what your reaction is to this. I see some of you smiling. So yeah, let's see, Sheila.
Hi, Carrie. I was just going to say, in our group, we kind of each did each question together and we thought about it for ourselves, but we also thought about, well, how would we use this in a conversation with someone else? So it was, good to learn about each other, but also we thought about how would we apply this when we're mentoring or coaching someone else.
I love it. How did it feel for you, Sheila, to answer these questions? Did you even think about these things?
Yeah, some of them I think were easier than others. Like, what have I done that I didn't need someone to explain to me? I think it's like it took a while to think of what that would be, or am I being humble enough to get things explained to me? Is the question. Yeah, I think some of the questions for each of us were a little bit easier or harder than others to kind of snap to the answer.
Yeah, definitely. All right, good. I get it. Like we don't, because some of the things we just lean into, especially as leaders, right? We just like feel like we can take initiative and we're self-starters and we're grown adults. We can figure out how to get it done. But oftentimes it's a clue to our strength, right? Did you do research? Did you ask someone? Did you, do you have someone at home who can teach you how to do that thing? I don't know. We can, we have lots of different ways of doing that. All right, cool, Sheila. Thank you so much for sharing. What else? Tell me another reaction.
I will say for our group, first of all, we didn't get through all the questions.
Okay.
Which told us that it was good dialogue and it kind of opened up, an opportunity to open up dialogue with each other or with your staff. So I thought that was a good just in itself that it created dialogue, and an opportunity for that. But there were some things that were discovered and shared, like, Jill shared that she had a certain tool and some wins, that using that type of skills and stuff that she, I forget what the question was, but it was good dialogue, and it was good to answer some of the questions.
Okay, that's great, Shannon. Yeah, sometimes we're having these one-on-ones. You might see other managers having one-on-ones, and those one-on-ones just feel stale, right? Like employees are like, oh my God, this one-on-one, I know it's weekly, it feels like it's daily, we have to do this again, right? It's like, there's nothing new to talk about. And I just think this helps us add variety to those conversations so that we're not canceling those conversations. Like those one-on-ones, I know that managers sometimes will cancel them because they feel like that's the one meeting they have control over on their calendars. But really that's the meeting they have to keep, because that's what helps keep your employees' connection to the company is through the manager. So to be able to have that dialogue in a different way is really important. So I'm glad that it generated more for you, Shannon. That's great. Who else wants to tell me what they discovered in their breakout?
Carrie, I think Stephanie had her hand raised.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Stephanie, go ahead.
Hey, Carrie. So I'm not sure if we were supposed to, but in our group, we answered the questions for ourselves. So it was like a reflection moment, because I think we spend our time showing managers tools for others, and yet no one looks at us in our development. So it was a really good exercise for us to talk about what we like to do, or what in some cases we laughed at things that we didn't like to do that others in our breakout room enjoyed doing. So we wish we could swap, but we can't. But it was a good exercise and great questions.
I love that. Well, we can initiate that as in like a group meeting or something to say like, we're going to talk about these as a group, and interview each other. And, I think we can get into like our important relationships and have those one-on-ones and bring those questions along and turn on our best interviewer, our best Oprah or Barbara Walters, or pick your favorite person. And ask these questions and then probe on those questions to get more out of them. But you know what, you're totally right, Stephanie. It's like in HR, we're the cobbler's children. We don't always do for ourselves what we're doing for everybody else. So it's good to take that time. Okay, let's see, Samantha.
Do you find that it's better to send the questions out in advance? Because I felt like a lot of them were very much ones you did have to reflect on and really think about.
I think it just depends on the person. I think if you're working with someone who's super analytical, you can ask me those questions and I'll have a conversation with you right now. I'm a communicator, I'm an extrovert. I can talk to you about it. If it were like my boyfriend, who's very analytical and likes to think through things, I would need to send that to him way in advance. And he would like to marinate on it a little bit. So just know your audience, know who you're talking to. If you want to keep it consistent, send it to everyone in advance. And then, some people will just come and answer on the fly and others will be a little bit more thoughtful. The other thing to think about, Samantha, too, is the relationship. How much trust do you have with someone? If suddenly someone's asking you questions about your favorite thing to do, they might be like, dude, what is up with Samantha? She never asked me questions like this, right? So they might get a little suspicious. And so give them the context, talk about where you learned about those questions and just say, honestly, I'd be really interested to learn these things about you. And I don't think we talk about these things enough. And so, come prepared in your next one-on-one. Let's talk about it. So I hope that's helpful. So look at the level of trust, look at their communication style, and use that to make your decision. Is that helpful? All right, cool. Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, ladies. Well, so I first of all just want to say thank you so much. It is not lost on me that an hour of your time is an expensive chunk of real estate on your calendar, especially on a Monday. And so I'm so flattered that you chose to spend your time here with me. I'm going to follow up with PJ to make sure that we send you a copy of the slides, this PDF. I would also invite you, I'll put our website in the chat right now. We currently have a free ebook download on the website that is about awakening the leader within and becoming the happiest leader that you know. And so we would love for you to come on over there and hang out with us. As well as on Instagram, we share a lot more. We probably put all of our free content on Instagram in terms of our IG lives and tips and things like that. So there's a lot of ways to engage with us. And then also we are obsessed with supporting managers, and we do have a program called Activate, which is 9 modules, 3 phases of all the critical skills to support managers and their success with their teams to actually operationalize and apply all the things we talked about here today. So I have relationship building in my strengths, so I'm really hard to get rid of. You are officially in my network, and I am flattered that I had the chance to meet all of you today. So PJ, thank you. And I appreciate everyone's participation.
Thanks so much, Carrie. We certainly appreciate it. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.